April 19th, 1995, Timothy McVeigh, a former soldier deeply influenced by the literature and ideas of the radical right, parked a Ryder truck with a 5-ton fertilizer bomb in front of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. Moments later, 168 people were killed and 675 people were injured in the blast. Oklahoma City traces the events, including the deadly encounters between American citizens and law enforcement at Ruby Ridge and Waco, that led McVeigh to commit the worst act of domestic terrorism in American history, with a virulent strain of anti-government anger still with us.
With that said, hello and welcome to the Highly Visible Podcast. Bit of a somber start to this one because it's not a fun topic, but it's something that we're all morbidly interested in, and we hope you are as well. I am your Uncle Thomas, and I'm here with my three friends. Mr. Dan.
Hello.
Mr. Cullen.
Hello, peoples.
And with his fresh new mustache, Mr. Caden.
I am present.
We have a bit of a format similar to our Waco situation we had. I'm going to hand over the driver's seat to Mr. Cullen, and we're going to get this thing rolling.
All right. So we're going to start. We're just going to go through not too much of Timothy McVeigh's life, the main perpetrator of this event. He was born in New York in 1968. He started prepping for a nuclear war or a communist takeover of America when he was around 14. And this was before Red Dawn had come out, so he was a little bit ahead of his time. He was very good at computer programming. He was named as high school's most promising programmer.
I do have a tiny thing about that. Yeah. One of the things I found interesting is that he had his own personal Commodore 64 as a high school student at that time, which was pretty nuts. Like, they weren't like, gold plated or anything and impossible to have, but for like a normal regular person to have a Commodore 64 that they gave to a teenager was pretty unheard of at that time. So he definitely had some sort of prowess to get that going. But it also said that back in the day, he was very industrious and always looking to make a little money. So he might have figured out a way to get the money to buy it himself. One of the most interesting ways I saw that he made money was apparently more than once he set up a tiny like haunted house, haunted trail situation and charged other kids to come and see it. So like he was a fairly normal, industrious kind of dude when he was a teenager. It's kind of stark, the change that happens right after that.
Yeah. Did anyone do any of that shit when they were a kid? Did you you went home and you got your 12-pack of Mountain Dew and you sold it at the school for $1 each? Anyone do anything like that?
I did the Warheads, get the big bag of Warheads from the dollar store, sell them for like, 25 cents each or 5 for $1.
The old fucking business day at school. I was a fat ass that my mom made brownies and I sold brownies, and I was like, man, I want one of them brownies. I was like, I'll put my money in my thing. I'll buy a brownie.
Yeah, it's like when you sell the candy bars at school, half of that box is getting eaten by you and your parents.
Exactly.
Any side hustles, Dan?
Oh, no, not for me. I was the kid that was probably taken advantage of by the side hustler.
Just getting side hustled from the side.
Yeah, I was very naive as a kid.
Well, since we're all not entrepreneurs here, I got some real sad news for you. I know this is going to come as a shock to all of us, but Tim McVeigh supposedly never had a girlfriend and died a virgin. Don't know why that's in that part, but it is.
Yeah.
Very sad. Maybe if he had a girlfriend, it could have changed it.
Nobody but him saw that coming.
Jesus. That's just god awful.
That's what he deserves.
Yeah, it said that he started making a lot of awkward tries at women after he got out of the army, but no, nothing ever happened. Poor guy.
Insight on that, Dan? Like,
yeah, I mean, but
being an incel.
No, I mean, like,
yeah,
I feel like aren't there several rite of passage type situations when you are enlisted and getting deployed where you like go out and
I don't know, like how family friendly this, homegrown terrorist episode is going to be, but if you're rocking a uniform and for some reason just don't get laid, like if you don't wander yourself into a situation to where even if, God forbid, you have to lower your self-respect, like there's ways. I mean, hell, we had people getting locked up for, never mind. There's ways. If you made it out and you didn't get any, I mean, that's fine. It's cool if that was your choice, if it was against your will, if that was just imputed on you, or if that's the right word, if that was just done to you, then I understand why he did it.
I'm saying,
if you suck that bad,
yeah,
I get it.
How rare is that situation? I guess is what I'm looking for from you. Like, how hard would it be for that to happen? Like, that doesn't happen very often, right?
Well, it also depends too, because you got to think military life does force you into social situations. It forces you into situations where you're meeting new people, going to new places, and you have to become acclimatized to that. But at the same time, it also breeds this like kind of like B identity where you can lock yourself away in the barracks and you can hide and drink yourself into a stoop and numb yourself and be just incognito up until it's time to go. You know what I mean? But
did anyone else see the thing where apparently his superiors reported that when all of his barracks buddies were out getting drunk and causing trouble, he was the guy who stayed sober and drove them all around and like was trying to be the designated driver goody two shoes?
But see, that's the thing. Is it's either now see his higher ups definitely loved him for that respect because they never had to worry about him, and they also never had to worry about anybody under his care 9 times out of 10 because he was probably extremely responsible. But he was also, I don't know if it's been diagnosed or anything, but it sounds to me like the dude is dealing with like crippling anxiety, at least in the social setting, because if he can't even get himself to engage with the opposite sex, let alone just socially, like not even just for sex, but just socially, which will sometimes lead to sex. If that can't happen, then there's got to be something. There's something definitely clinically deep going on.
Barrier.
Yeah, there's something. Either that or he just that wall that is built up when you're born and comes down when you're a teenager, where you start to recognize the opposite sex or the same sex. No one cares. The point is, like, when you start to see other people for their sexual qualities, like if that wall never came down, which I don't know what that would be called other than fucking unfortunate. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but there's definitely, if there's one way that somebody who has no hope can get some hope, it's to put on a uniform, because for some reason, I mean, there's people out there looking for fucking health insurance and anything. You can get it done.
Yeah, I also saw a thing about him. He apparently bought in immediately. Like as soon as he joined up and got through the initial training, he was like, he wasn't a leader, but he was a super follower. Like he what's the word? Like he bought in. Like he was like, I've crossed the Rubicon. I'm in this shit. I love this. This is awesome. Whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
bet a lot of people are like that.
Yeah. Well,
at least at first.
That's the whole like being all about the message. They're all about it until it actually gets hard. Like, and I don't mean hard as in like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, you got to fucking do something that no one else has ever done. It's just like starve somebody for a couple days or make them go without sleep for a couple days and see how dedicated they are to the message. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
that's kind of what happened with him and his special forces thing, huh?
Well, maybe. I mean, there's definitely things like pre SF training that can break a person. But if you're going into SF and you're not there for, like, if that is not your life and you're there, they'll dig that out of you. They'll make you see it.
Never thought about that before. Is that super hard training like twofold? Because it's supposed to test if you have the fortitude, but it's also to like, what's the word? Like, in a factory, they like subject new inventions to like a bunch of weird stress tests to like find where they break. Is it like that part of the training as well? Like looking for how many weak points you have, like breaking points?
Well, it depends. It depends on where you go, and we're not going to get into all of it tonight. But it depends on what training you go into. There are schools that their only purpose is to torture you, and I mean that literally. Their job is to break you down physically and mentally, to hurt you, to make you give up, and to push you as far as they possibly can without killing you. There are schools to put you into situations that only a certain number of people could even consider hospitable, and force you to survive and learn how to thrive and operate in that environment. Because the goal is not to just put you in the fucking Sahara with a canteen of water and be like, go forth and die slower than someone else who doesn't do this. The goal is to put somebody in there fully kitted out with a job to do and make it to where they can fucking do it. But the job and goal of selection is to find out who does and does not deserve to even be considered. And to do that is basically where you get the grueling, the torture, the hours.
Okay, so I was thinking, I'm gonna start this shit again, right? I'm just because I got so many fucking points on here. If you have something to say, just put your little fingy up so I see it, and if not, I'll just keep going. Okay, so we're still in what? What are we laughing at? Little fingy? Is that what it is? Should I have said big finger? That made you bet.
No, I put my finger up and you didn't see it.
Oh,
Just like you
yeah.
didn't
See,
see
I was
me eat
looking
that
at my
Star
notes.
Crunch.
True.
I ate that thing right under your nose, Cullen.
I know. I saw it in the editing. Okay, so we're still in high school-ish area. Maybe a little after high school too. He worked at a sporting goods store, and even his coworkers there thought he was especially obsessed with guns, which probably kind of hard to do. People work at a sporting goods store, I would imagine, like guns, at least some of them. Then he joins the army at age 20 because he wanted to try new guns. He frequently got in trouble for racist behaviors in the army. He earned a reputation for assigning shit jobs to black servicemen.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, because we were talking about it before. I was like, I read some things. Maybe, I'm pretty sure he's a white supremacist.
Yeah, I was on the fence a little bit because of the Ruby Ridge thing, because that was kind of a thing that happened to that guy. Is he was associating with those type of people, but there wasn't a lot of evidence that he was like into their stuff. He just wanted what they had going on, if that made sense. But yeah, if he's being reprimanded in the army back then about it, that's probably a big red flag.
Anyway, the Turner Diaries was this book that was basically like his Bible, like this. He's a white supremacist, white nationalist, whatever you want to call him, neo-Nazi. Basically, his Bible. And the Turner Diaries was wrote in 1978, and per Wikipedia, because I didn't want to go too deep into it because it would, like Thomas said earlier, probably piss me off. It depicts a violent revolution in the United States, which leads to the overthrow of the federal government, a nuclear war, and ultimately a race war, which leads to systematic extermination of non-whites and Jews. All groups opposed by the novel's protagonist, Earl Turner, including Jews, non-whites, liberal actors, and politicians, are murdered in mass. So it's a super racist book. And he sold it at gun shows and preached it to all anyone who would listen.
And it also
Any thoughts on that, Dan?
It also depicts things that he did, like they used a bomb very much exactly like the one that he used to set off their race war in the book.
Yeah, the opening. Yeah, it was basically like written as it was done as it was written, essentially.
Yeah, one of the other things about that author is he kind of got a lot of heat because he put a very vivid and accurate description of how to make such bombs in his book as like a, hey, we should do this kind of a thing, and use the artistic license of being an author to like get away with it. It's like what's the word? Giving somebody who might not necessarily go do the research themselves the ability to do the thing anyway. Not good.
Anarchist cookbook type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy that wrote that book, I forget what the thing is. He's a leader of some racist association. I want to say it's like national, just something super plain. It was like National Association. But yeah, it's great. Real piece of shit, that guy. All right, so he gets out of the army, and he said that he regretted his actions as a U.S. soldier. He had to do some pretty shitty things in wherever the hell he was, I forget.
He also did some very impressive things. Did you guys read about any of that stuff? This is what I was talking about earlier, Dan. Supposedly, he hit somebody in a tank with some sort of tank gun from like a mile away on the first shot, and like impressed the shit out of everybody around him as a very competent guy. But that also seemed to be some sort of turning point in his like rah, let's go do war thing he had going on. Like a mile out, is that a thing tanks do?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, like in a tank, yeah, absolutely. Being somebody like using an ATI or anti-tank rifle or anything like that, no, probably not. Well, I don't know. They're actually pretty large, but yeah, tanks can engage from an obscene distance. Yeah, but I mean, it also depends on target size and elevation and all that. But yeah, a mile out. Yeah.
Is that something you've seen where like some people just have the knack, like they're like a natural at big long shots like that, or is it something you train and learn, or is it kind of
you definitely train, even those that are not good at it. Yeah, you also have to think like a position in a tank isn't something that you just inherit. It's if you're ready for it and if you've shown promise, then you'll get moved into it. But everybody starts as a driver, because if you can't even drive a tank, there's no goddamn way you can. Well, I mean, you can probably load a tank if you're stupid enough. And you can, but you damn sure won't shoot a tank. Like the level of competency and understanding of not just like not just the simple capabilities of your tank, but like the ballistic calculations you have to do. Like you have the secret squirrel box, which holds all of your does all your ballistic computing for you, but you have to input all that data and you have to bore sight your tank, and you're responsible for the ammo selection. And like gunner, TC, it's unreal. And it's not like you don't have to have a 4-year degree to do it. I mean, these are 18-year-old, well, not 18-year-old, but you know what I mean? You have to be in for a little bit to be a gunner, but yeah, it's not in a tank. You don't just get cast into this position because someone else wasn't there to fill it. You have to be competent. If no one else can fire the tank, the TC will do it because he at least has experience. If you're just some dumbass, you're going to be loading or driving. That just is what it is. And even that takes relative competency because you're driving a 68, well, not at that time, a 68-ton vehicle, but you're driving a massive armored fighting vehicle with like 30% visibility. And you're responsible for anything and everything that thing it touches. You don't have a fucking backup camera, and you can only see about that much of what's in front of you.
You said 30%?
Yeah, visibility. You have little portholes that you see out of. Yeah, it's ass.
Dude,
yeah.
That gives me chills, man.
Yep. You got to know, like, it's like driving a car down a busy street. You have to know how wide it is. You'll get the feel for, can I fit through this? What am I going to scrape? Would I rather scrape a building? Is that worth it? Or would I rather scrape a car? Or would I rather just fucking flatten this car? Or would I rather just go through the building? You know, you do have those options, but you better have a goddamn reason for it.
So what did he hit someone? Did he hit another tank or did he?
It supposedly was a person. He just disintegrated the top half of a person.
With the main gun?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know enough about tanks.
Was it 105 millimeter fucking round going out, Dan, or what?
Well, I was about to say, if it was in the I don't know when he was in. I didn't get that information.
This was Gulf War.
I think M1 sure, wasn't it? Yeah, I was about to say M1s. The Abrams were firing 120s.
120. Yeah.
But, yeah. That's another thing, too.
It wasn't fucking fly at your head, dude.
It depends on what round he used. That's another thing, too, out of the 120s is it wasn't until Iraq that they started determining what we can and can't hit with certain types of rounds. Like it wasn't illegal, but it was frowned upon. You had to get approval to use DP sabos, or DU sabos. You had to get approval for those. You're not supposed to use like HEMP or anything like that on individual civilians. On individual combatants, but because I mean, there's just a level of obnoxious overkill. It's like it's in 50s. 50 BMG was another one. We have the mod Deuce up on top, and you're not supposed to just shoot people with that. It's supposed to be for vehicles. But like, if you're getting bogged down, God, we can't fucking defend ourselves, sir, because all we have left is the mod Deuce. Nah, you're gonna send that dude to whatever god he decided to believe in, with whatever armament you have, if you need to. But yeah, hitting anything a mile out is impressive, absolutely. Especially for how like young the technology was back then. The technology has come. I mean, even when I was in, the technology's unreal. But a mile nowadays is boring. It's trivial. But back then, I mean, it was impressive.
Cool. You feel cool talking about tank stuff, Dan? I keep putting you on the spot, but like, I gotta. Like when you play tanks in video games, you just are the tank, and it like just never even occurred to me there's 4 dudes in that tank all working together to make it work, and that's just fascinating to me.
Yep, there's an entire language that if you weren't inside of it, or if you didn't know it, you wouldn't understand. If someone put somebody like I feel like most people could probably figure out how to start a tank. It's weird, but you could figure it out. They could figure out how to get it moving. They could probably even figure out how to turn the gun. But the majority of fucking people, even those with firearms experience, couldn't figure out how to load and make ready, and they couldn't figure out how to fire and discharge the actual gun. There's so many safeties. There's so many different fucking things that you have to engage in a certain order. There's a whole language for that. It's like going in and ordering, I want a large double cheeseburger with no pickles and extra lettuce, and they yell back, he wants a McHenry with one. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tanks have the same language. It's
interesting.
You know,
diner talk. Put them on a rack and rick them.
Yep. Especially when you switch ammo. The loader has to call out, TC confirms, and the gunner selects. All that happens with one word. Well, 2 words, but yeah, and then the firing. It's awesome.
I feel like now they have autoloaders, though, don't they?
Not in America, not yet.
No, not yet.
They have them prototyped here. Yeah, the T90s were the first ones to do it over in Russia, but they don't have enough money to mass produce them. Not to mention that their LCAD system isn't really like our M1A2s, and now the M1A3s and all that shit they're working on. They have the ACAD system, which it basically finds, ballistically calculates, computes, and stores where, I think it's the ACAD. It stores all the data for all the different targets, and basically you pump from one shot to the next. You know what I mean? Instead of load, make ready, fire, wait, scan, find, lays, fucking load, make ready, fire. But Russia was working on some dumb shit like that, I'm pretty sure, but they didn't have the money or the capital to mass produce it.
But they wish they did now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
is it just me, or we're gonna have to do a tank episode and then see if we can get Total War Tanks or whatever that game is to sponsor it?
Listen, dude, I'm telling you, War Thunder, that's the fucking game to play if you want to do tanks. It takes so much into account, like ballistics of like each round you're shooting, how thick the armor is on the tanks. So like if you shoot
angle, right?
At angle, if you shoot at the wrong angle, it's gonna just fucking bounce off. If you hit it like full side on, it's gonna just, plus you can hit like the gas tank, the crew members, the ammo rack, all that shit.
Well, the tank has blast panels and all this other shit.
Exactly. It's very cool. You go all the way to, I think, like pre-World War II, all the way up to, modern tanks. So
that's the thing about tanks, especially from like the 80s and up, that people don't understand. Like, yeah, tanks are cool and tanks are awesome and tanks can fire all kinds of different ammunition, but like America and a very select few other countries are the only countries on earth that have DU sabos, depleted uranium sabos. And those are the ones. That's it. You need approval to fire those.
Depleted uranium is because it's heavy, right?
It's dense and it sharpens as it penetrates. It just gets better. Like, it's fucking ungodly. If for some reason hell ever decided it wanted to come try, that's what we would load up. They're just fucking nuts. Like, and I'm not trying to like oversell, but they're nuts. They're fucking crazy. They just don't stop. They're complete. They're just kinetic energy rounds, and they're lobbed out, stabilized by fins, and they just wreak havoc. They fly over a mile a second. Get the fuck out of here.
Whoa.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like you can fire until you're fucking limp, like steel and all this other shit rounds at an M1A2, and you can fire it and fire it and fire, as long as you're not hitting it somewhere. Like, you may immobilize the hull, cool, like we can't move, but we can still send you to God from 4 miles out, because we have what you don't, and that's DU. Like, you can't hide from that. We can shoot you behind the world's largest redwood and still send you to God. Like, what do you want?
That's crazy. I just looked it up really quick. It says the Marine Corps deployed in the first Gulf War M60 tanks, but then borrowed 60 heavy armor M1A1s from the Army. In addition, they took delivery of 16 M1A1s already on order, rushing them right off the line into the Gulf, training M60 tank crews to take them over as soon as they could.
Yeah, the M60s, when we were in the Middle East, we have a bunch of allies outfitted with our old M60s, but they have current fire controls. So that was kind of retro and cool.
Like a retrofitting, you mean?
Yeah, it's really cool looking. We got to get in there and mess with them. It's cool. It was a good idea, but at the same time, that's just steel armor. Mm-hmm. You send anything that's made out of depleted uranium through that tank, that whole crew's going to go to God. And that sucks.
I talk about gas tanks.
Fish tanks.
Yeah. Ooh.
Fish tanks, brother.
All tanks.
Kane just got a little hard. Just a little.
Did you feel my hit the table, bro?
Shook your camera. Crazy. Strap that thing down.
All right. So to back up what Thomas was originally talking about, I don't know, 47 minutes ago. It's fine. He got like 7 medals in the Army, actually. I don't remember all of them, but I was like, oh my God, this guy's still talking. Like, why are there so many medals? Like we said earlier, he tried to become a Green Beret, but washed out after 2 days. And then after that, he was honorably discharged. He asked to be honorably discharged and received it. I didn't know you could do that, but yeah.
under very limited circumstances.
So he gets out of the army, gets real into gambling, and is very not good at it, like every other human in the world. And he loses very, very much monies. And then, so this guy, I feel like maybe we didn't paint the picture of this very well, but this man is like the biggest libertarian. I don't know if libertarian's even far enough to say it. Like, he fucking doesn't want the government touching anything of his. He like, fuck you. I'm in control of my own shit, which is why it's weird that he joined the army, but whatever. So he's just like a big, I know my rights. Like, these are my freedoms. Like, don't tread on me nonsense.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Second Amendment all the way for sure.
Well, yeah, that's his big one.
T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I got that in here too. But so like after he gets out, I don't know how long it was after, but the government sends him a letter that says he was overpaid during his time in the army by $1,058. So this big libertarian government guy's pretty pissed about this. And he sends them, I think if I recall, he sent them a letter that was like, you can take all of my stuff and get greedy and, get fat with all my tax dollars, but you'll never take I don't fucking know. He went on some big, huge rampage to the government.
Take my rats.
About taking $1,000 from him, which was a lot more back then, but still it's probably like $4,000 back then.
Not
like, that sucks, much. But
yeah.
So he does that. So this is probably, helping build his anti-government sentiment. And then 1993 is where we are now. It's 2 years before. He's living on the road, making money by selling guns at gun shows. This is also right when Waco happens, which we talked about him in the Waco episode. He went to Waco. And I also learned today that he went back to Waco after it burnt down and was put his, picking up the ashes and whatnot. It's like, oh. Waco really pissed him off, as we discussed in that episode.
He was there selling bumper stickers and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were like looking at through like telescopes, like, yeah, I see that fucking 6 miles away. He's like, here's some anti-establishment bumper stickers. We're going to teach the government.
That was literally my next line was he goes to Waco and sells his pro-gun literature and bumper stickers. He was selling the Turner Diaries at this.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't imagine. Like, me and Dan are both pretty into books. Like, we obsess about books. Could you imagine loving a book so much you buy like a case of them and go sell them? Like, hey man, you read this book?
Right. As someone who has 4 copies of Meditation. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, but you're not trying to sell one to each of us.
He's trying. It's a slow sale. He's trying to make sure he gets
Marcus
it done.
Aurelius? Kidding. No, it's all good. No,
you heard the good news?
Yeah, that's much for sure. At that point, I mean, I don't even know if you actually believe in a message. You're just pushing it for.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you might have believed in the message.
Yeah, no, that was a bad way to say it. It's not that he didn't believe in the message, but it's more important to push the message than to propagate the message than it is to, attend the service of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still disagree, man. He fucking blew up a building.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I understand that. You can be possessed by an ideology, and you get possessed by an ideology and you consumed by it, and then you go and you try to spread it. You try to, make it influence as many people as you possibly can. And if that does fail, then you become extreme. You become an extremist in that ideology.
I feel like it's the difference between like evangelist churches and like, being a Augustinian monk. Like, a monk is living the Bible versus the dude who's like, we got to get everybody to church right now. Like,
yeah,
his whole focus is on getting people in. He might also not even be living the message he's trying to preach or whatever. Whereas the Jews are a good example of this. There are no Jewish preachers who are like, y'all need to come join us. They're like, we're good. We got all the people we're supposed to have. We're just trying to live.
Those that need to be here are here.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't you think if he was trying to really push the message, though, do you think he would just give out that kind of shit, though, and not like give it away like for profit?
Well, you got to understand that type of shit was probably printed on a small batch, paid for out of pocket by the organization. Oh,
I know, but like, do you think like if it's bigger than him, you think he would be like, hey, this is big? You think he would like give out that kind of shit, though?
You also have to remember at this time he has like no fucking money. Like,
I know
he's living off these guns that he's selling at these gun shows and T-shirts and whatever else he can get his hands on. But he's like living out of his car during this. Like he has no fucking money.
It's no wonder nobody ever. fucking God with
Please.
him.
I'm so hungry.
There's no fucking
Please be racist.
real, like giant, no manageable markup on a firearm, especially selling it to person. I mean,
maybe that was part of his whole deal. He was like using the literature to kind of get people foamed up to want to buy one of the guns they didn't originally plan on buying, so we can mark it up a little bit, make enough money, keep the cycle going.
There,
I mean, like like in Son of Anarchy, all the Irish dudes, they're supposed to be fighting for Irish independence or whatever, but once they get far enough in, they're just like, yeah, we want to make a bunch of money. Like, this is why we're here. Like, I like all this stuff, but I also can make money now. I mean, he definitely went through with, I don't know. It's a weird idea. Like, it took over all these different parts of his life. You know what I mean? Like, he was doing Second Amendment stuff in high school, and it was just important to him. And then he got all these weapons training, and he did really good with that. But then he didn't like what he did with the weapons all that much. But then he still went on to kill a bunch of people. I don't know. He's such a crazy back and forth dude.
Waco just made
he
they're like,
he had to do some
they're taking their guns.
I'm next.
What? Oh,
is it just me, or does the mustache make him command more presence? Like when he talks, I want to listen more. I don't know why.
He looks like he owns a shotgun. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, it's under the table.
Listen, bud, I own a few shotguns, but
he's like, he looks like he's gonna yell at me for looking at his daughter.
Get off my lawn.
He looks like he attends high school volleyball games as a father and doesn't have any children. That's what he looks like.
I'm a big supporter of the local high school volleyball.
Women's sports are just as important as men's.
Oh, fuck. Okay. The turning point for him, he had to do some pretty fucked up shit to some captured people in the army, is what I got. And that was kind of the turning point for him of like, fuck you guys. I don't want to, if this is what you're doing, I don't want to be a part of it, blah, blah, blah. Which is weird because he says that, but also like, he did try to be a Green Beret, and that's when. So I don't know. He's just, you're probably right. He is just a weird fuck.
One of the other reports I heard is that he didn't get forced into doing stuff. He may have like voluntarily did some stuff he shouldn't have done that might possibly have been war crimes. And that might be why they were like, yeah, take this discharge, please.
Yeah, that could be.
Or maybe it's both. Maybe he like was rah, let's do this. And then right as soon as it was over, he was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like, I don't know.
So at this point, he basically decided that since government agents had become soldiers, quote, he had to strike back at one of their bases, which is probably why he chose the Alfred Murrah Federal Building in OKC. So now we're on to 1994, where he moves to Arizona and moves in with his old military pal, Michael Fortier. Michael Fortier shares the same views as McVeigh. He also loved the Turner Diaries. Michael Fortier is a very, very big drug guy. And McVeigh starts doing meth in the desert.
And nothing great ever happens when you do that, except the one great thing that's ever happened, I think, is Queens of the Stone Age, Songs for the Deaf. The killer album. I'm pretty sure they were doing meth in the desert when they made that. They're at least thinking about it.
That's an acceptable reason. Murdering a bunch of people, not so acceptable.
Nope, not so much.
But he actually didn't like the drugs that much. Fortier did. Obviously, he was a big drug guy, like I said, and it caused a kind of ripple in their friendship because he didn't want to do drugs all the time. And around this time, he's reunited with his other army buddy, Terry Nichols, who was basically his partner in crime for the actual explosion. Nichols had renounced his U.S. citizenship in 1992, and he was trying to like use it as a defense for shit in court. Like, you don't have any jurisdiction over me. I'm not a citizen. Like, that's not how that works, dumbass.
And I believe that's referred to as the sovereign citizen movement, where these people are just like, hey, I'm not a citizen, so I'm not paying no taxes. It's like, listen, dummy, we know your address. We will get the taxes.
Yeah, feels like the same people that are like, keep them off the border, don't let them over. But also now that they're here, pay taxes. Like, but I'm not a citizen.
The same dudes that are like, they're stealing our social services. Meanwhile, they're all paying taxes onto a fake social security number that they're not, getting a refund from. And it's all backwards and weird.
Yeah. Nichols basically had the same views as McVeigh as well. Neo-Nazi, white supremacist, big 2A guy, all that stuff.
Maybe not so much.
What?
Nothing.
Nothing.
What
do you say?
I said scumbag, and he said 2A. I was like, oh, maybe not so much.
Oh, bad time. You're like, I kind of like guns. It's okay. So basically, you got all these 3 fucking rejects out in the desert doing meth and God knows what else. And this is when they kind of start planning to blow up the building.
Making plans.
McVeigh starts making increasingly strong bombs out in the desert. They start buying large amounts of chemicals and a detonation core, and they have about 3 storage lockers full of chemicals by the end of it.
One of the interesting things I heard about that is apparently the Nichols brothers had a bunch of like storage places where they were hiding stuff, and one of them was in Columbus, Ohio. Apparently it was searched and accounted for after the fact, after they realized they were involved, and they found a little bit of everything that they needed to make the big bomb in this place. Like there was like a couple blasting caps, and there was containers that had residue from the chemicals, and like the Nichols brothers seemed to be helping amass and stockpile all the shit that they needed to make this device, and they were doing it not just in Oklahoma. There's a place in Michigan, I think, too, that had some stuff. So like it wasn't just like a dudes in the desert and a shack. Like they were really planning some stuff. They had a lot of steps involved in getting all the things they needed.
Yeah, I think that they thought, they're going to blow this up, whatever. And then all these people are going to be like, yeah, we're fucking mad too. Let's uprise. And like, okay, we got these bombs ready all over the place. And it's just like, oh, you killed 19 kids. Fuck you.
Yeah. Like
we're not that mad.
The exact wrong thing that we would do. Like you did the thing that our enemies would pretend to be us and do to make us look bad, you moron. Yeah. Which, it's as I'm speaking in the voice of people I think are probably scumbags too, but they're like, we're not that scummy. Like, it's like that dude that dates 18-year-olds. He's like, well, I'm not the guy who dates the junior high kids. It's weird the levels of darkness and weirdness involved in this whole debacle. Gradations of scumbaggery.
Around this time, they start stealing and selling firearms just to, keep buying or doing whatever. They stole some of the chemicals they had too. It wasn't like they bought all of them. When Michael Fortier learns of the plan to blow up the building, he basically steps out. He's like, no, I'm not being a part of this anymore. So then we're in March 1995, about a month before the actual event. McVeigh gets a fake license plate and an old car, which is his getaway car, and he stashes it in OKC. Okay, so now we are, I think, 3 days before the bombing. Pretty big jump there. April 16th, 1995, they get a hotel room and rents the 20-foot truck. April 17th, the bomb is made using barrels filled with ammonium nitrate and fuel and some other chemicals they had. Nichols starts to get cold feet, and then McVeigh threatens to kill him and his family if he doesn't help him do it. April 18th, the day before, they drive the truck filled with the explosives to the building, park it in a delivery area that is 50 feet from a daycare.
I also saw one of the journalists that wrote about this said that he went there to the place where, like, he got pictures or something from the vantage point of where they parked the van, and you could see children's art hanging up in the window. Like, it was very obvious. It wasn't an accident whatsoever. And I don't know if you guys heard this anywhere either, but I also heard that the original plan was to put it underneath the federal courthouse so that they would kill a whole bunch of judges, and that the Ryder truck was too tall to fit in the parking garage there, and they panicked and had to go find a second location. And that McVeigh is the one who chose the second location. And there's also, the same guy said that there are there's some accountings from interviews that he talked about that building when they scoped out Oklahoma City, and specifically was talking about the daycare. Like, he knew it was there, and he thought, a bunch of federal employees' kids would be there, and it would be revenge for the kids from Waco. There's no way to confirm any of that, but like, I don't think that the dude was very adamant from all of his interviews that he did that it wasn't like I accidentally forgot there was a daycare here. Whoops, they're collateral damage. Like he said, that it was planned. And that was just like, had to take a research break.
That's heavy shit there.
Yeah.
I've heard that, but it was that there's a parking garage under the building that he actually did explode, and it couldn't fit under there. Mm-hmm. And if it had been under it, then it would have basically it would have been like 9/11, fucking just straight poof, just straight down. It would have destroyed the whole building. It would have been way, way, way worse. I didn't hear that today, so that's something I'm just remembering, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. At least that's what I thought. So we're back at April 19th. It's the day it actually happens. McVeigh leaves. He drops off the truck, escapes in a getaway car with no license plate that he previously stashed, and shortly after 9 a.m., the blast occurs. The explosion destroys the entire front of the building, injuring over 500 people and killing 168, 19 children. Basically, a third of the building is destroyed, and an 8-foot deep hole is left where the truck was at. The explosion did about $652 million of damage, and I think that was at that time, so that's probably like $2 billion now at least. And yeah, I already talked about the daycare center. First responders started there, which is just a really gruesome thing to think about.
I did see a thing. There were like a crazy amount of like fucking volunteers though, like 12,000.
Oh, I'm sure
people have volunteered like from all over the states and shit to help clean it up. But it was like crazy shit.
Oh yeah, they had a blood drive. They had a blood drive set up like within, I think it was like 35 minutes, like right down the road. Like there was all kinds of shit going down.
I tried to go down more of the conspiracy rabbit holes on this one, and another witness who, I'm trying to remember specifically, he was the head of the National Homeland Security, some kind of one of those agencies, and his kid was one of the people in this daycare. So he was involved in the investigation after the bombing, but he was also personally involved with the daycare. And apparently this person and another person who worked at the daycare remembered Timothy McVeigh coming to that place when they scoped the city out before. It was like 2 years before they did it. And that he asked a bunch of questions about the daycare and the security of the daycare as well. And that like people, 2 different people that were interviewed by the FBI said that they recognized him from being super weird that day. So there's like even more stuff about him possibly choosing the daycare ahead of time, which is just, that blew my mind a lot. I
mean, listen, these people are never rational. And like you said, the Waco thing, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like yeah, I fully believe that was why he did it.
There's also some weird stuff about one of the Nichols brothers' son asphyxiating, and they ruled it an accident, but there's some suspicion that him or Timothy McVeigh did it. And the one journalist that I got a lot of this weird secondary stuff from, he said that there's no way to prove it. There's no, this is just a speculation based on all the research and interviews that he did. But some people who knew about that thought perhaps that he did that to see if he would be able to follow through with the bombing, or that he also did it to intimidate the Nichols into not backing out. Which, could you imagine? Like, I think once I thought you accidentally or on purpose killed my child, I'm not going to go to the grocery store with you, much less do a giant bombing. I'm not going to trust you with anything ever, and I'm probably going to kill you in your sleep.
Yeah, it was like, I don't... yeah, nothing good's coming from that after that point.
I just can't, yeah.
You two got anything you want to add to this, Dan, Caden? I got some more shit, but...
it just proves that he's a piece of shit, but then you're like, oh no, he's like a real like piece of shit. One, he's fucking just openly racist, and now he's like, yeah, I'm gonna put this bomb next to the fucking daycare, like just because I can. I know full well that there's kids in there,
Yeah, there's also people saying that they heard him say that he thought that was the building that the order to like invade the Waco compound came from, which was not actually the case. But if he thought that might have been part of it as well. I don't know, man. I just can't
think any ATF were there.
No, yeah, I don't know. The FBI had places there, but I don't know. The agencies are all intertwined and stuff. And what did we end up saying during the Waco episode? There was like 890 different people surrounding the compound from like 10 different agencies. Police, sheriff, and all that stuff. I feel like at some point he just stopped living in reality. Like that's the impression I got, Another interesting thing that I found, I don't know if you guys watched any of the interviews with him, but the interview of him like at the Waco thing and the pictures of him before and the pictures and interviews of him after he was locked up, he looks like almost like a completely different person. I don't know how to put my finger on it. Not that he is physically a different, like I don't think they like swapped him out or anything, but I just mean like the way he holds his face is different. The way that his eyes are is, I don't know how to explain it. It looks like there's something missing before, and then after he seems more animated and more happy, and I don't know how to explain it. Eerie.
I seen when he was at Waco, like I was watching, when he was talking to the camera, people were commenting, they were saying like he was everywhere that they wanted it, or they needed him to be at. So basically saying like he was the puppet, and someone was like, but who the puppeteer was, no one knows. They said, there's probably some conspiracy out there that the government had something to do with it, probably.
Well, the conspiracy that made a little bit of sense that there's no way to prove is that the FBI or somebody knows that there were accomplices that were actually the people who helped plan it and like nudge him into doing it or something, and that they didn't want to look bad for not arresting them, and the case was closed and they just decided to let it go. So there might be conspirators out there that we know about that aren't being pursued. Do you have anything about the bank robbery gang, Cullen? Or the Elohim Village compound place?
Nope.
We could get into that if you want to finish your stuff first.
Yeah, I only got a few lines left actually. So yeah, everything blew up, whatever. 10:17 a.m. This is an hour, 15 minutes later, almost on the dot. He gets pulled over because he doesn't have a rear plate on his getaway car. Real smart guy. He's arrested when an officer sees a concealed pistol in his car with a shoulder holster. And obviously no one knows he's the bomber at this point, so he is taken in, but he's like, he does end up being there long enough for him to be suspected as the bomber. So the investigators I think it was around noon that day, so about 3 hours in. They find a truck axle with an ID number, and they can trace it back to the rental company where he got it. And then April 21st, before he is released, he is identified as a suspect for the bombing, so he has to stay in. A few days later, Nichols turns himself in after seeing McVeigh on the news to try to clear his name. And he gets arrested, and he never walks free again. And then May 4th, the search is stopped, and that's all I got.
Definitely a turning point in American history, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if we said it, but biggest domestic terrorist attack on U.S. soil.
I watched, the YouTube feeds you stuff, so that every time you try to watch a video about this, you'll find something else that's like about the Boston bombing or about the first World Trade Center attack or whatever. And this was different than those because this was a white bread, Midwestern, honky American dude who did this. It wasn't like a dude who came to America and was let down by America, or a person who was crossed by America and wanted revenge, or like this wasn't, this was like, to speak it in Star Wars, this was Anakin becoming Darth Vader, like, which is so much worse than like, no one's mad at Darth Maul for being evil. Like he was supposed to be evil, you know what I mean? But like Anakin was good and now he's Darth Vader. Like he was one of our own and we trusted him, and he was one of us and now he's the bad guy. Like it seemed like way more of a betrayal, I think, to the public at the time.
If we're going to go Star Wars terms, I mean, Anakin didn't just turn bad. I mean, he was puppeteered into becoming Darth Vader,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where this bank robbery thing comes in. Supposedly during this time, there's a private city. People call it a compound, but I saw pictures of it. It's not a compound. It's like a village, bunch of little outbuildings. It's similar to the Waco situation. It's like 400 acres where all these people live, and they got some wacky religious beliefs. They believe that the lost tribe of Israel is where white people come from, and that white people are the chosen people of God and all this stuff. And they attract a lot of white supremacist neo-Nazi types to that area because they can hide there, I guess. And during this time, supposedly there was a group of revolutionary white national dudes who were in a bank robbery gang out robbing banks to fund the cause. And there are people who think that McVeigh may have actually been an accomplice in one of these bank robberies, and that's how he got enough money to actually pull all this off, because you said he was so broke. And that there's also a record of him getting a speeding ticket 20 minutes outside of Elohim. And they're saying like it's pretty coincidental that this group was hiding there and he was spotted there not even, 15 minutes away from being there in the middle of nowhere, got a speeding ticket. Like, they just never pursued this, I guess, because the investigation that they had against the bank robbers would be interrupted and messed up if they were also a part of the bombing. And they thought that they were going to get convictions about the bank robbery stuff, so they just dropped it. So they may have been accomplices or helpers or abettors or the masterminds, or who knows how they were involved. But because of interagency politics or whatever, they just weren't pursued for this, which is just nuts to me. That also might be just total conspiracy BS. But like, the bank robberies are real, the gang is real, the city's real, the ticket's real. I don't know.
I feel like I have heard that. Listen to a lot of conspiracy theory shit. I just didn't go that route today. We did do this episode because, 4 days ago? Well, from recording was actually the 23rd anniversary. Or no, 18th? 28th? There's an 8.
Yeah,
it's an 8.
Yeah, 28th.
What was the other thing? Was the Filipino wife of the Nichols guy?
Oh yeah, that was another
conspiracy around that.
Yeah, the idea that Nichols may have went to the Philippines to possibly get some sort of like Al-Qaeda jihadist based terrorism training. Like, maybe that's how they got onto building these bombs, but this is so circumstantial and kind of ridiculous. There is some evidence he traveled back and forth to the Philippines without his wife.
He did.
That's from the Philippines,
really?
Which is, why wouldn't you bring your wife as the cover to go visit? You know what I mean? Which seems kind of silly. It could also just be he was going to the Philippines to like sleep with prostitutes, and that's why he didn't bring his wife. I don't know. The whole thing is very weird and yucky, and people want to find some overarching big thing that loops it all together. Some people think that this may have been like a precursor to the 9/11 attack. That this was jihadist people, like the upper puppeteer jihadist people, being like, how can we, what's the best way to defeat your enemy is by turning his soldiers against him. You know what I mean? So, but it's also, like I said, I think the idea that a homegrown American white ass American dude would do this was just so alien to people at that time that they wanted to see that. You know what I mean? I don't know. There are just a dozen pretty fleshed out conspiracies about this for sure, that it's a part of some bigger thing.
Yeah, the only thing that surprises me about this is that there's no conspiracy that he was in MK Ultra, because every person who does anything's in MK Ultra.
Well, the comparison of that is also with Unabomber, because apparently he might possibly have been, and I don't know. I feel like as Americans, we like to mix things together that are alike.
Yeah.
I mean, the Unabomber is another fascinating sort of a thing, but it's a very
that's a
different
Dan
than this.
episode.
Yeah.
That's Dan's idol, people. Everyone out there listening to this is Dan's favorite human in the whole world. He does not love anyone more.
Except for Marcus.
He aspires to not do anything like him. Please don't check us, FBI people. I'm just kidding. This is satire. Leave me alone.
Listeners are listeners.
So whatever happened to 48 and the Nichols brothers, like, are they all in prison or no?
48 went to prison for 12 years. The other two I don't know if either of them have passed yet, but they were both in prison for life.
It's crazy. Even just being associated with those guys.
Yeah, he bailed as soon as, at least my understanding is he bailed as soon as they started talking about this. He still got 12 years.
Yeah.
He's lucky he only got 12 years because he only got charged with conspiracy. He basically got charged for not tattling. Basically, I don't know what the federal language is for that. The state of Oklahoma was like, listen, it's not double jeopardy to charge you with 128 murders because you didn't get convicted of murder in federal court. You got convicted of conspiracy. But apparently he cooperated and got out on good behavior, and he's in WITSEC. Don't think he deserves it. I don't know. If the dude killed his kid and threatened his wife, then I feel a little different about it, I guess. But there's no way to know for sure. He's not going to tell us.
Yeah. If he was the piece of shit he is, then yeah. But if he was a piece of shit, but as soon as they were like, hey, we should bomb this building, he's like, whoa, I'm not going down that road. Then I mean, which I think that would be most people, when you get like one crazy person's like, yeah, we should just fucking blow a building, and then someone's like, because they have all the same ideals and all this shit like that, and then the one guy's like, we should blow a building. The other's like, whoa, dude, like, hold the fuck up.
Yeah, it's like watching these little kids who are like super into like Andrew Tate and all these like, pickup artist dudes, and then they like meet somebody like that, hang out with them, and realize how shitty they are as a person. They're like, oh, I'm gonna be one of those. Maybe this isn't for me.
I'm taught you.
Ugh.
I like Andrew Tate.
So what's funny, you say that like, oh, he basically got in trouble for not tattling. So feels like the person who leaves one of these things or group, a cult, whatever it is, and tattles is always like, most people are just like, man, you're just lying, you're just crazy, whatever. They just kind of get wrote off. Like I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago that was about the Kirtland cult, and there was a guy, and this is in Ohio, it's in Cleveland. Guy left this cult and was like, hey, this dude has a plan to go kill this whole fucking they're Mormon, so whatever a Mormon church is. It's like he's gonna go kill all of them to bring in the new fucking new age, whatever the hell his cult believes. And they're just like, nah. Well, he did it. Like, so I don't understand why we charge people when we're just gonna be like, meh, it's fine. Like, you're just crazy. Okay.
I mean, he also probably broke a bunch of laws helping them prepare when they were just playing games and doing meth in the desert.
Is this doing meth in the desert? Is that the name of this episode?
I don't know, because there's
should not put meth in it.
How hard
stuff.
You gotta do a lot of meth to just flip the switch and be like, yep, mass murder.
I think the switch was a little like kind of stuck in the middle before that.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I've been trying to articulate what I'm trying to say. Like, it seems like he could have went either way the whole time, and just these little tiny things that happened in his life pushed him one way or the other. Not that that's an excuse at all, but like, there's a one thing that I saw where after he got back from the Gulf, he was like looking into how to get counseling and stuff, and he was about to go do counseling. And as soon as he realized that they were going to have to like take his name and a social security number and verify his service and all this stuff, he just like was out. He's like, I'm not doing it. I don't want nobody to know. And that was one of those turning points. And like Dan said, if one of his buddies that he like saved from getting a disorderly conduct when he was, getting drunk, when he was a designated driver, he has to have saved somebody's ass from getting in a big giant amount of trouble. If that dude would have just took him under his wing and got him laid, like introduced him to a cool black dude, like maybe this wouldn't happen. I don't know. There's so many places in the story where it seemed like he could have teetered the other way. You know what I mean?
You're missing the big one, Thomas. He died a virgin. I don't know if he's dead.
Supposedly.
I think he's dead, but he died a virgin. And, even if not, he didn't get laid that much.
Yeah. And what if there's something that led him to being a virgin, like Dan said, that we just never knew about, some like weird trauma that we were unaware of that fits into this equation and makes it at least make more sense.
Sadly, it wasn't traumatizing enough to fucking kill him.
Yeah, no shit.
It's true.
Doing stuff in the desert. What a title. Because we're not putting bad words in the titles anymore, because those videos do way less good for some reason. Thanks, YouTube.
Yeah. Excellent. We'll learn. We'll figure it out.
They had a pew with a title. Yeah. No pews.
Get them.
So how many people were all involved in this total? 4? 3?
3 were convicted.
Okay.
I think the other Nichols brother was probably absolutely involved, and at least should have got
the wife. One, I forget which wife. Was it the Nichols wife that knew about it too? So, but I don't think she got in any trouble.
I think it was easy to convince people that she was afraid for her life if she told.
Yeah.
Fair.
She wasn't out doing meth in the desert with them. She wasn't one of the bros. I don't know. Could you like we like got together and we're like, oh, we should do a podcast. Like, these dudes got together and hung out and they're like, oh, let's blow some shit up. Like, what's the anatomy of that?
This just gave me the best idea ever. Episode 100.
In the desert with you.
Episode 100. We all go out in the desert. We do a shitload of meth. The people love it. It's what the people want, Thomas.
Maybe
sorry,
we'll just
Mom. Sorry,
Dad.
Maybe
we'll just finally see if you can inject G Fuel.
I can do it. All right. Anyone got anything else we need to throw in here about this fucking piece of shit?
No, I feel like we should brainstorm on the next happy one that isn't sad. Well, what's one where we can do a bunch of research that isn't going to just completely ruin our algorithm on YouTube, because all of my whole shit is depressing now.
Bye, people. I love you.
Yeah.
Sorry about the sad.
Peace, love, dope.
All right, Dan, don't say fucking bye then. God.
I didn't know what the fuck he just said. All right, bye.
We post every episode on our YouTube page. Search Highly Visible on YouTube to find us. You can give us a like on our Facebook page, Highly Visible Podcast. We also all use Twitter, and our usernames are all at HighViz, whatever our name is. Dan, Cullen, Caden, and Thomas. We also have a page on Instagram at HighViz Podcast. And Thomas and I are on TikTok, and now our podcast has its own TikTok. And you can find us at HighVizPod, at HighVizCullen, and at HighVizThomas. And if you want all this info in one place, our link tree is linktree.com/highlyvisible. Thanks, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the episode.